There are files buried so deep in government archives, sealed in vaults and stamped with warnings like "eyes only," that even the most experienced intelligence officers speak of them in hushed tones. These aren't myths. These are operations, sanctioned and executed at the highest levels, that shaped the invisible battlefield of the Cold War, and beyond. This is the story of three of the most controversial CIA operations ever conceived: MKUltra, Operation Paperclip, and Operation Northwoods. Let's go deeper. Beyond the fragments of declassified pages, beyond the myths whispered in conspiracy circles. Let's explore why these operations existed, what they really entailed, and why the truth isn't black or white, but shadowed in moral ambiguity and strategic necessity. MKUltra, the mind as a weapon. In the 1950s, fear was the world's strongest currency. The Cold War was escalating. The Iron Curtain had descended. And whispers began to emerge. The Soviets were experimenting with mind control, psychological warfare, brainwashing. The CIA responded with an operation that would remain one of the most secretive and morally complex in modern history: MKUltra. MKUltra was more than an experiment. It was a vast umbrella program with over 150 subprojects, involving hospitals, universities, prisons, and pharmaceutical companies. Many of the participants had no idea they were part of something larger, or even part of anything at all. From dosing unsuspecting civilians with LSD to prolonged sensory deprivation experiments, from hypnosis to electroconvulsive therapy, the CIA explored the outer edges of human consciousness. They were looking for a formula, a way to control, influence, or break the human mind. The program produced strange results. Some subjects developed severe psychosis. Others reportedly showed signs of altered behavior, obedience, dissociation, paranoia. But the science was unreliable. The ethics were blurred. And in 1973, just as scrutiny was closing in, then CIA Director Richard Helms ordered the destruction of most MKUltra files. But not all of them. What remained, scattered documents, whistleblower accounts, and Senate hearings, would haunt public trust in intelligence forever. It wasn't just an abuse of power. It was a glimpse into the fears of a nation desperate to stay ahead. Operation Paperclip, a race for minds. After World War II ended in 1945, a new war was already beginning, not with bullets but with blueprints. The United States and the Soviet Union scrambled to seize Germany's scientific elite. These were men who had built rockets, invented new chemicals, and pushed the boundaries of what wartime science could do. And some of them were Nazis. Operation Paperclip was America's covert mission to bring over 1,600 German scientists to the U.S. quietly. Their wartime affiliations were erased or sanitized. These men would go on to work for NASA, the Pentagon, and secret military labs. The most famous was Wernher von Braun, the father of the V-2 rocket, later hailed as a hero of the American space program. Critics say the operation betrayed justice. That these men should have stood trial, not received U.S. citizenship and salaries. But others argue that without them, the Soviets would have taken the lead in missiles, space, and military innovation. It was a zero-sum game, and the stakes were civilization itself. What's less known is that Paperclip didn't just secure rocket scientists. It also brought over biologists, chemists, aviation experts, and even specialists in psychological warfare. This wasn't just about space. It was about creating a foundation for American dominance in every technological field: fast, efficient, and quiet. Operation Northwoods, War by Deception. In the early 1960s, as the world teetered on the brink of nuclear war, the U.S. government devised a plan so bold, so ethically dangerous, that it was ultimately rejected and buried. That plan was Operation Northwoods. Drafted by the Joint Chiefs of Staff and presented to the Secretary of Defense, the proposal suggested staging fake attacks on American soil, blowing up a ship, hijacking planes, even faking the deaths of American citizens, all to blame on Fidel Castro's Cuba. The goal? To create public and congressional support for a full-scale invasion. President Kennedy reportedly rejected the plan outright. And in doing so, perhaps stopped one of the darkest chapters in American history from being written. But the document survived. It was declassified decades later. And its existence revealed something shocking. In the Cold War, the battlefield wasn't just overseas, it was in the public's mind. It was in the headlines, the fear, the carefully crafted narratives. Operation Northwoods was never carried out. But its drafting was real, and shows just how seriously psychological and media warfare were taken as tools of statecraft. The bigger picture. These operations weren't rogue experiments. They were institutional responses to existential threats. MK Ultra wasn't just about LSD, it was about staying ahead of Soviet science. Paperclip wasn't just opportunism, it was a strategic chess move. And Northwoods wasn't lunacy, it was a reflection of how desperate things felt in the shadow of nuclear war. Some see these as stains on American history. Others see them as necessary evils in an era where the wrong move could have ended the world. And in each case, the actions taken, or not taken, helped shape the global order we live in today. The CIA operated not in a vacuum but in a pressure cooker. Failures meant more than political embarrassment, they meant risking everything. These were not simple choices. They were gambles made in the dark under the weight of history. Conclusion. The truth is never clean. It doesn't arrive with perfect clarity or moral purity. But it exists, in fragments, in files, in declassified pages left behind by those who played their roles and disappeared. MKUltra, Paperclip, Northwoods. Their names alone conjure images of secrecy and betrayal. But they also represent ingenuity, resolve, and a relentless drive to stay one step ahead. The documents are real. The people were real. The consequences, undeniable. The question now is not whether they happened, but what they mean. Because in a world of shadows, interpretation is power. And you now hold the file. The dossier is open. What you believe is up to you.